L3, 4, 5. Here's your tailbone. Here's your L5S1 disc and your L4-5 disc and your L3-4 disc. Now, you guys ever heard of Stuart McGill?
Vaguely.
Canadian guy.
Just the name.
He's kind of getting close to.
McGill University?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, not the same McGill. It's not. He doesn't have a university named after him, I don't believe. He's done a lot of work in lab-based work, mostly on cadaveric spines, and what they kind of have shown is in a young, healthy spine, when the spine is loaded, when you're upright. So if we look at this disc right here, what happens is actually that the disc is able to generate so much pressure that it actually kind of buckles the vertebrae above and below. So when you're loaded, you get this kind of an effect. As time goes on, and if we look at this disc, so here's your nucleus and here's your annulus, you get kind of degenerative tearing and stuff that occurs in the disc. So it kind of weakens part of that disc. So when the spine's loaded, what happens is this. You get more of an outward bulge like that. And that's kind of normal age-related wear and tear that occurs in the spine. What goes along with this as this problem gets worse is the water content in the disc sort of decreases over time. It just doesn't look as healthy. It doesn't have the same kind of hydrodynamic properties that it has in a younger spine. And again, that's normal age-related wear and tear types of things. There's a theory out there that suggests that in this situation, there's so much pressure in here that there can't be much ingrowth of nerves and blood vessels into the disc, so it's not a huge pain generator. In this situation where you have weakening and the disc generates less pressure, you actually can get nerves and blood vessels and stuff that grow into that. So basically you get some nerve tissue and some nociceptors that kind of grow into that disc and turn parts of it into a pain receptors or a pain sensitive area where previously it wasn't. And some of those nociceptors are sensitive more to changes in internal chemistry. In other words, as you do stuff throughout the day and your disc loses some of its water content through repetitive use, you kind of turn on those chemically sensitive nociceptors that have grown into that disc, and you generate kind of a pain response. The pain is more due to that disc losing some of its water content. Does that make sense? So when we're lie down at night and we're recumbent, the discs, they reabsorb water. So if you're trying to impress somebody with your height measurement, you want to do it first thing in the morning when you get up, because you lose a little height throughout the course of the day. Other things that increase that water content are things like lumbar traction. That's been shown to do that. There's a recent study that actually showed that, I think it was lumbar traction. It was lumbar traction, and then there's another one where they were just doing PA mobilization to the spine and showing what they were able to show with this most recent one. I forget what year it was from, maybe 2010 or 2011. They did an MRI that was a T2 weighted MRI that was sensitive to water content. And then they did, it was either mechanical traction or PA mobilization. I think it was traction, the one that I'm thinking of. And then they did an MRI afterwards. And what they found was the discs actually showed up brighter. They had increased their water content through that particular treatment. And they've shown in a previous study, they were able to show that same type of thing with the PA mobilization too. The idea being that in a degenerative spine that's a little bit symptomatic, that if you have some mechanism to increase fluid content in the disc and you can relate it to a change in pain, that's an effective way to kind of manage your symptoms. So in terms of inversion tables, that's kind of what I think of, is it just helps people, if they do it periodically throughout the course of the day, it just takes the load off those discs so they can imbibe fluid again and kind of turn off any sort of chemically sensitive nociceptors that might be present in there. So that's just sort of the way I think about that. And this is actually